The city called to them in their sleep. It was a call that transcended the boundaries of reality, seeping into their subconscious minds. Each night as they drifted into slumber, the city whispered secrets and stories, weaving a tapestry of dreams that felt more real than the world they woke up to. The city was not just a place, it was an experience, a living entity that breathed life into their imaginations. It whispered of towering structures reaching for the clouds. These skyscrapers were not mere buildings, they were monuments to human ambition and ingenuity. They stood as silent sentinels, watching over the city and its inhabitants, their glass facades reflecting the dreams and aspirations of those who lived beneath their shadows. The city was a testament to what humanity could achieve when it dared to dream big. It hinted at bustling streets filled with beings unknown. The streets were alive with the hum of activity, a symphony of sounds that spoke of life in all its chaotic beauty. There were markets where vendors hawked their wares, their voices blending into a harmonious cacophony. There were alleyways where secrets were whispered, and parks where children played, their laughter echoing through the air. The city was a melting pot of cultures and experiences, a place where every corner held a new story waiting to be discovered. They woke each morning with fragments of memory, pieces of a puzzle they couldn't quite assemble. These fragments were like shards of a broken mirror, reflecting glimpses of a world that felt both familiar and alien. They tried to piece them together, to make sense of the images and sensations that lingered in their minds, but the harder they tried, the more elusive the answers became. The city remained just out of reach, a tantalizing mystery that beckoned them to return each night. Thomas, an architect in the heart of New York, saw blueprints etched behind closed eyelids. These blueprints were not of any building he had ever seen or designed. They were intricate and complex, filled with details that seemed to come from another world. He would wake up and rush to his drawing board, trying to capture the designs before they faded from his memory. But no matter how hard he tried, he could never quite replicate the perfection of the dream. Lines became buildings, impossibly tall and elegant. These buildings defied the laws of physics, their structures both delicate and strong. They seemed to float above the ground, their foundations rooted in the dreams of those who imagined them. Thomas marveled at their beauty, at the way they seemed to capture the essence of the city. He knew that he would spend the rest of his life trying to bring these visions to life, to create a city that matched the one in his dreams. He felt the hum of unseen technology, heard the murmur of a language he couldn't understand. This technology was unlike anything he had ever encountered. It was seamless and intuitive, blending into the fabric of the city in a way that made it almost invisible. The language was melodic and fluid, its words carrying a sense of history and culture that he longed to understand. Thomas felt a deep connection to this city, as if it were a part of him that he had only just discovered. Maya, a painter living on the sun-drenched coast of California, dreamed in colors. Her dreams were vivid and vibrant, filled with hues that seemed to pulse with life. She would wake up with a sense of urgency, her mind racing with ideas and images that she needed to capture on canvas. The city in her dreams was a kaleidoscope of colors, each one telling a story of its own. Maya felt a deep sense of purpose, as if she were meant to bring these visions to life through her art. Her canvases exploded with vibrant hues, capturing the city's energy. Each stroke of her brush was a tribute to the city, a way of honoring the dreams that had inspired her. Her paintings were filled with movement and emotion, capturing the essence of the city in a way that words could never do. Maya felt a deep connection to the city, as if it were a part of her soul that she had only just discovered. She saw marketplaces overflowing with strange fruits and heard music that resonated deep within her soul. These marketplaces were a feast for the senses, filled with sights, sounds and smells that were both familiar and exotic. The music was a blend of different cultures and traditions, creating a melody that spoke to her heart. Maya felt a deep sense of belonging, as if she had found a place where she truly belonged. Javier, a writer seeking solace in the quiet mountains of Montana, filled his notebooks with stories. These stories were not just figments of his imagination, they were glimpses into a world that felt more real than his own. He would spend hours writing, trying to capture the essence of the city and its inhabitants. Each character was a reflection of the people he had seen in his dreams, their lives intertwined in ways that he could only begin to understand. Names spilled onto the pages, characters with lives intertwined in the city's fabric. These characters were not just names on a page, they were living, breathing beings with hopes, dreams, and fears. Javier felt a deep connection to them, as if they were a part of him that he had only just discovered. He knew that he would spend the rest of his life trying to tell their stories, to bring the city and its inhabitants to life through his words. He tasted the spiced air, felt the cobblestones beneath his feet, and lived 1,000 lives within the city's walls. Each step he took was a journey into the unknown, a chance to discover something new and exciting. The city was a labyrinth of experiences, each one more captivating than the last. Javier felt a deep sense of wonder, as if he were a part of something much larger than himself. Lena, a sculptor finding peace in the English countryside, felt the city's shape in her dreams. These shapes were not just random forms, they were the essence of the city, captured in the curves and lines of her sculptures. She would wake up with a sense of purpose, her hands itching to mold the clay into the shapes she had seen in her dreams. Lena felt a deep connection to the city, as if it were a part of her that she had only just discovered. Her fingers molded clay, giving form to the smooth curves of buildings and the rough texture of ancient walls. Each sculpture was a tribute to the city, a way of honoring the dreams that had inspired her. Lena felt a deep sense of satisfaction, as if she were bringing a piece of the city to life through her art. She knew that she would spend the rest of her life trying to capture the essence of the city in her sculptures. She smelled the salty air of an unseen sea, heard the cries of exotic birds, and touched the cold stone of the city's heart. These sensations were not just figments of her imagination, they were real, tangible experiences that she could feel in her bones. Lena felt a deep connection to the city, as if it were a part of her that she had only just discovered. She knew that she would spend the rest of her life trying to capture these sensations in her art. 4 souls, strangers, scattered across the globe, united by the whispers of a city that existed only in their dreams. They were connected by a shared experience, a sense of wonder and curiosity that transcended the boundaries of time and space. Each night they would return to the city, exploring its streets and uncovering its secrets, and each morning they would wake up with a sense of purpose, knowing that they were a part of something much larger than themselves. The city was not just a dream, it was a reality that existed in their hearts and minds, a place where they could truly be themselves. The dreams consumed Thomas. They were not just fleeting images or abstract ideas. They were vivid, almost tangible experiences that haunted his every waking moment and filled his nights with restless visions. He spent his days sketching, his hands moving almost of their own accord, driven by an unseen force. Each line he drew felt like a step closer to a reality only he could see. Trying to capture the city's impossible architecture, he would lose himself in the intricate details, the sweeping curves and the towering spires that seemed to defy the laws of physics. The lines flowed onto the page, blueprints for buildings that defied gravity. Each stroke of his pencil was a testament to his vision, a glimpse into a world that was both fantastical and achingly real. He saw arches that seemed to float in mid-air, structures that danced with the wind, and buildings that shimmered like mirages in the desert heat. Towers that pierced the clouds, reaching for the heavens as if they were trying to touch the very essence of the sky itself. His colleagues marveled at his designs, their practicality questionable, their beauty undeniable. They were works of art, each one a masterpiece that spoke of a future yet to come. He felt an urgency he couldn't explain, a pressing need to bring these visions to life. It was as if the city was calling out to him, begging to be born from his imagination. The city was more than a dream, it was a calling, a destiny that he felt compelled to fulfill no matter the cost. He pored over his sketches, searching for clues, for some meaning behind the visions that haunted his sleep. Each night brought new images, new ideas that he had to capture before they slipped away. For some meaning behind the visions that haunted his sleep. He would stay up late into the night, the glow of his desk lamp the only light in the darkness, his mind racing with possibilities. He felt like a man possessed, driven by a force he couldn't control. It was as if the city itself had taken hold of him, guiding his hand, whispering in his ear. Driven by a force he couldn't control, he would sketch frantically, his heart pounding in his chest, his mind a whirlwind of inspiration and desperation. One night the dream shifted. He found himself no longer an observer, but a participant in the world he had created. He was no longer an observer. He was walking the city's streets, feeling the pulse of life around him. He was walking the city's streets, the air alive with energy. The buildings towered above him, their surfaces gleaming in the moonlight, the air alive with energy. He saw the faces of its inhabitants, each one a story, a life intertwined with the city's destiny. He saw the faces of its inhabitants, their eyes filled with a strange knowing. It was as if they recognized him, as if they knew he was the one who had brought their world to life. Their eyes filled with a strange knowing. He felt a connection to them, a bond that transcended time and space. He woke with a gasp, the feeling of belonging lingering on his skin. The dream had felt so real, so vivid, that he could still feel the city's energy coursing through him. The feeling of belonging lingering on his skin. He knew then that his vision was not just a dream, but a glimpse into a future he was destined to create. Maya's canvases became windows into the city of her dreams. She painted with a fervor that bordered on obsession, her brushstrokes capturing the city's vibrant life. The colors were richer, the light more intense than anything she'd ever experienced in the waking world. She painted marketplaces overflowing with exotic fruits and strange creatures. She painted festivals of light, where the sky danced with colors unknown. She painted the faces of the city's inhabitants, their features a mixture of the familiar and the alien. Her friends noticed the change in her work. It was as if she'd tapped into a hidden wellspring of creativity. Her paintings were no longer mere representations of the world. They were portals to another realm. Section 4. The Writer's Words. Javier's notebooks overflowed with stories. Each page was a testament to his boundless imagination and relentless dedication. He would often sit for hours, lost in the world he was creating, his pen moving almost of its own accord. The ink seemed to flow directly from his soul, capturing the essence of his thoughts and dreams. He wrote of the city's history, its myths and legends. Every corner of the city held a story, every street a secret waiting to be unveiled. Javier's words painted vivid pictures of ancient battles, forgotten heroes, and timeless love stories. His narratives were so detailed that readers could almost hear the clashing of swords and the whispers of lovers in the night. He wrote of its people, their loves, their losses, their triumphs and failures. Javier had a unique ability to delve deep into the human psyche, exploring the complexities of emotions and relationships. His characters were not just figments of his imagination. They were reflections of real people, with real struggles and dreams. Through his words, he gave voice to the voiceless and brought to light the stories of those who had been forgotten. He gave them names, breathed life into them with his words. Each character was meticulously crafted with their own unique backstory, personality, and motivations. Javier's attention to detail was unparalleled, and it was this dedication that made his characters so relatable and memorable. They were not just names on a page, they were living, breathing entities that resonated with readers on a profound level. He wrote of a world both familiar and strange, where technology and magic coexisted. In Javier's universe, the boundaries between reality and fantasy were blurred, creating a mesmerizing tapestry of wonder and intrigue. His stories transported readers to a place where anything was possible, where the mundane and the extraordinary existed side by side. It was a world that was at once alien and yet deeply familiar, a testament to Javier's unparalleled creativity. His characters lived and breathed on the page. They were not just static figures. They evolved, grew, and changed as the story progressed. Readers could see their struggles, feel their pain, and celebrate their victories. Javier's writing had a way of making the fictional seem real, of bridging the gap between the reader and the story. He felt their joys and sorrows as if they were his own. Javier's empathy was his greatest strength as a writer. He had an uncanny ability to put himself in his characters' shoes, to experience their emotions firsthand. This deep connection allowed him to write with authenticity and passion, making his stories resonate with readers on a deeply emotional level. The city was no longer a figment of his imagination. It was as real to him as the world outside his window. Javier's dedication to his craft was so intense that the lines between fiction and reality often blurred. He would spend hours gazing out of his window, drawing inspiration from the bustling city below. Every sound, every sight, every smell became a part of his narrative, enriching his stories with a sense of authenticity and depth. He wrote through the night, driven by an unseen force. There were nights when sleep eluded him, when the stories in his mind demanded to be written. The quiet hours of the night became his sanctuary, a time when the world was still and his creativity could flow unhindered. The city outside his window would transition from the vibrant chaos of the day to the serene calm of the night, mirroring the ebb and flow of his thoughts. The stories poured out of him, a torrent of words that he couldn't control. It was as if an invisible hand guided his pen, compelling him to write. Javier often felt like a mere vessel, a conduit through which the stories of the city flowed. His mind was a whirlwind of ideas, each one more compelling than the last, and he struggled to keep up with the relentless pace of his own creativity. He felt like a vessel, a conduit for the city's stories to be told. Javier's connection to the city was profound, almost mystical. He believed that the city had chosen him to be its storyteller, to capture its essence in words. This sense of purpose drove him, fueled his passion, and gave his life meaning. Through his writing, he hoped to immortalize the city's stories, to ensure that they would be remembered for generations to come. Section 5, The Sculptor's Touch. Lena's studio was filled with clay models of the city. She sculpted buildings that reached for the sky, their forms both elegant and imposing. She sculpted the city's inhabitants, capturing their strange beauty in clay. She worked tirelessly, her fingers shaping the clay with an almost supernatural skill. She felt a connection to the city that went beyond the physical. It was as if she were channeling its essence through her hands. She sculpted intricate details. The texture of the cobblestones, the delicate carvings on the buildings, the flow of water in the city's many fountains. Each detail brought her closer to understanding the city's mysteries.